or something work?
I mean, he probably did. I don't remember casting.
Yeah. All right, well, we're hopping into game number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and this game is going to be on Frost, and we're going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, atop of the yellow Zerg player, currently up 1-0, representing Team Envious. Give it up for Violet.
And in the top left, completely surprised by that last game's attack, it is the blue Terran, Jason.
So, Zubbergrub, I know you were talking about this earlier, but last map, Frozen Temple, very short rush distance, affects the way that certain things happen. Like, for example, the Reaper pulling back if there was an early pull or something from Violet again, which it doesn't seem like I don't think there's going to be, as he's already saved up more than 200 minerals. But Frost, pretty much the opposite of that, especially with these spawn positions.
Yeah. I did like Jason's follow-up, prioritizing the 2 tanks and then going for the 3CC and the double engineer, but I think that was actually fine. It's actually really hard to kill really good Zergs with that follow-up push, but I think if he had been able to save them, like he was kind of supposed to, then that might have been okay, but Frost, had it been horizontal spawn, for instance, then I definitely would expect the same thing, and just him depending on executing it better. Because I think, programmers sometimes are the hardest on themselves, right?
Yeah.
But with cross spawn, if you do a tank push, I just feel like you're asking to just get swamped, basically.
So, Zombie Grub, I'm going to tell you a secret.
What's that?
I think I know what Jason's going to do.
What?
I think that he's going to go for a Widowmine drop.
Do you think so?
I think so, because he told me so.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
I'm cheating a little bit.
Oh, that is cheating.
But I am really interested to see how it's going to work, because he seemed to be convinced about this before he even knew what the vetoes were. He was telling me this like maybe an hour or so ago. So I don't know if that's really something he's going to be committed to, because normally a lot of players say, like, depending on the map, I'm going to change up my strategy. It is so dependent on the map and how effective something will be. But he really just seemed convinced, like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix it up. And the reason why he was thinking about that is game number 1, he goes for the siege tank push with a 2-1-1. Game number 2, does something that looks very similar, but ends up switching it up a little bit.
Interesting. I mean, he said that for Frost, or for specifically like
No,
cross-spawn
just
Frost?
said game 2.
Just said game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's super interesting then. Because if I was going to guess what his build was without prior knowledge, I actually would guess that he swapped it up and went for a 3CC build. But I mean, it actually still remains to be seen. I mean, he's getting a first factory rather, no second barracks.
Yeah.
A Widowmine drop is just so. I mean, there was like a point even before the queen buff when like Snoot was just showing how good queens were, that 1 medevac drops in particular did not look that strong, but 2 medevac drops, the 2-1-1 actually could be. So if he does a Widowmine drop with 1, I don't know if I really expect to do a lot of damage unless it completely surprises Violet.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you're giving up the opportunity to do something like go for a fast 3CC build, really put on the pressure. It does seem like a Tech Lab is building on that factory, though, so seems maybe a little bit less likely he's going to be going for that kind of play, unless he's swapping that over for Liberators and going into like a really fast Liberator range.
I don't know. Actually, fast Liberator range builds, the bunny build, as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Could be very fun, especially against players who never get a Spire, which a lot of Zergs still don't like getting a Spire.
Yeah, but on a map like Frost, I feel like it's a lot harder to make that kind of stuff work.
It is, yeah. It's very map dependent. I think the current map pool doesn't really play to it. So I actually don't know what he's.
It's gonna be a siege tank.
If he's going for a siege tank drop, the same difficulty arises where it is only 1. And even if you get 2 siege tanks to cover each other, like, it is very dependent on finding a good position. Most Zerg players have gotten very used to dealing with it.
Well, Reaper finally does get cleaned up, and Jason no longer has an eye out on the map. What is Violet going to be up to as well, since we've been talking a lot about what Jason's been doing, but 3rd expansion goes down for Violet. Still not going to have that lair starting up, but the double evolution chambers are going on down, and I am really curious, again, what are those upgrades going to be?
I know we just said don't talk about Jason, but I'm just like, what is...
Yeah, you can talk about Jason. I'm not forbidding you from talking about Jason.
So I guess this is kind of like the safest build you can ever do, right? You go for the siege tank, and then if you get the medevac, it's really not supposed to die. And then you go for the 3CC, but this isn't the 3CC build that I was talking about that a lot of Terrans are bringing back. That actually starts off with Hellions, but this is certainly safe, and it does provide the smallest amount of aggression, so just interesting kind of older stuff from Jason. But Violet goes for the melee upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, he really seemed to find a lot of success in that last game with the melee upgrades, going for all that massive Zergling flood, really delaying his lair, which is something that I feel like he's kind of starting to do again. as it's getting close to like the 5-minute mark and still no signs of a lair actually starting up. Although this game, he's not going to be facing off against the early siege tank pressure as much, so he doesn't actually have to worry about getting out a lot of roaches. He can probably use that gas a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, he really doesn't need roaches. I was surprised that he added them on last game, but of course we kind of figured out why later on. But the Overlord drop coming in here, just the lightest bit of harassment. This should not start the snowball that it did last game. It's actually scouted by Viking.
Oh man, and that is actually going to be unfortunate because it started pretty far away. Is he actually going to be able to unload more than like one Zergling?
No.
Nope.
Two?
Two Zerglings, and one's on the wrong side though.
Yeah, that's not so worth, but it wasn't that dedicated either for Violet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Viking cleans it up. But yeah, you know, I think it's still just, it's a nice sort of mental win also. You clean up that drop attempt, you're like, cool, got it. Like that was one of the things that really just pulled Jason apart in that last game.
Yeah. Well, there is that lair started from Violet. Still in a Roach Horn, so I think he's going to save the Lings. But now it's the question of, does he go for the ultimate goal of being an Infestation Pit, or does he actually add on that Spire? Because, you know, like I said, like a lot of Zerg players would say don't. But of course, I mean, Scarlet, right, is a pretty big Spire player. And certainly a lot of the Koreans still play with Spire, and Violet, as much as he lives in, you know, America, as long as he lives in America, still has some of that old style.
But I feel like going for the Infestation Pit is a really greedy play. You are just really depending on the fact that, oh, you know what, I don't need anything other than Zerglings and Queens for a very long time to deal with any kind of aggression. Yeah,
but it is totally possible. I mean, this is the style actually Nurgio does the majority of the time, it feels. So just kind of curious what Violet is going to do here. But his Slayer is almost finished, so we're actually going to, you know, question answered very soon. Jason is pushing out with 2 medevacs, but notice this is like a minute and a half beyond that of like the 2-1-1 gave him. So Violet should be totally prepared, and his creep spread's pretty far out already, and the tank is not, again, one tank does not really help that much.
Widowmine just like didn't get the memo, just, you know, didn't show up, was a little bit asleep on the job.
I don't actually
It's on the wrong time zone. Marines also, the medevac actually gets sniped off with all the remaining Marines inside, so Jason not exactly finding the best of trades right now.
Oh man, I mean, I'm pretty sure he was just looking back at the Ling drop when that happened, but that was actually super devastating. Because he also lost the tank, apparently.
I feel like at this point, Jason is just starting to fall behind in supply. He's not exactly taking the best of trades. Losing 10 workers, obviously. Losing the medevac, obviously. All really not ideal things for Jason. But it just feels like Violet is going uninterrupted. He hasn't really felt any pressure whatsoever.
Yeah. And honestly, if Jason had gone for like the greediest 3cc double engineering build ever, don't really care that he didn't get a lot of harassment going on, because I think like a big final push can work out, although it would be harder on Cross Frost. But that's not really the case. I mean, we went with the tank drop first and kind of delayed the upgrade, so he's still behind in that. It does feel like Violet has taken such control, and Jason, I mean, he barely even has a creep cleanup crew. This is not that much.
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like Jason is just going for the super late game style, and Violet for the first part was kind of like, okay, I'm sort of preparing for what could be happening. But then the push never came, and Violet was like, okay, cool, I'm just going to play greedy now. And he's going straight at the Infestation Pit. Baneling. Oh, whoa. That's a pretty good Widowmine hit.
Made up for it.
Gonna make things a lot easier to defend over here. But, I mean, behind this, Violet is still going up to his own Hive Tech. He's getting up such a big hooks. 2-2 is on the way. All of the things Violet wants to do in the late game to end the game are coming out.
Yeah, the Hive timing especially, you can tell how safe that Violet felt. There really was no just like, oh, I need to make 20 Banelings before I do this. So that's really scary. He also might feel comfortable enough to start banking a lot to get all of the upgrades on Hive.
Okay, that's a pretty good hit. 14 more Banelings on the way, but Jason is starting to make a bit of a push out across the map. It looks like it's mostly just with Marines. No siege tanks in the mix that I see anyways. Maybe trying to bait some of these Zerglings into the other Widowmine. There's another Widowmine available. Not quite getting as good of a hit.
Yeah. And a Ling counter. No, that's not a wall.
That's
jeez.
A little bit awkward. 2-2 also finishing up. Gonna kill these SCVs in double time now. And Jason is just starting to fall a little bit apart over here. The SCV's not even sure where to run at this point.
Yeah, this is gonna bring his entire army back. Oh, actually, Violet chasing the army with his Lings here. The Banelings are following suit. He might just see an opportunity to win the game without Ultras.
I feel like that's the problem for Jason right now, right? Is that either... okay, we'll kill off a lot of the Zerglings, still good, but the Banelings survive, and even with those hits, I'm not sure that Jason has done enough.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay.
That's what Platybo actually was supposed to help it.
Thankfully, Jason just lost his entire army and most of his SCV, so he's not supply blocked.
Yeah, oh, Jason is severely mismacroing as well, up to almost 600 minerals, 1,600 minerals rather.
I mean, there's just been so much going on.
There has been, and this is really disappointing because I think the only, to be really grim here, I think the only opportunity that Jason had was to try and catch Violet investing too much in the hive. So like 3/3 adrenal glands, chitinous plating, but still with no ultras. Because sometimes that can happen, but that time has passed. By the time he clears up creep and he actually starts scaring Violet, every single upgrade will be done.
I mean, realistically, you think about how this game has gone. Violet literally never got any anti-air, and even the greedy Zerg players oftentimes get like 1 to 3 infestors, just to get some fungal growths out, help lock down those medevacs, maybe the queens with like a Ravager or something can pick away at it. Violet has just gotten away with pure Zerglings and Banelings, and then he got up Ultralists next. There was just no intermediate from tier 1 tech to tier 3.
Yeah, and with the timing gone, trying to hit before chitinous plating and still dealing with Lings, his best bet to win this game would probably just to be kind of turtly, like get the 4th base, get the 2nd starport, hope that Violet over-dedicates with Ultralisk, because some Zergs do, especially if they feel very, very confident.
Yeah, but I mean, the map is Frost. Your 4th expansion, that's an okay-ish expansion to take, but it does get a little bit more vulnerable. If you're talking about taking a 5th expansion on Frost, you are going to be spreading yourself out. It is going to be so difficult to actually defend against a big attack.
Yeah, especially against the Ling players, against the Roach Ravager players who are going for a hive. Like, you can actually, they don't counterattack that often, but Violet would be able to scout all these 5th and 6th bases, even if it even got that far.
Liberators are going to be coming on out, and thankfully Jason does keep up with his upgrades with 3/3 on the way, but we got a Baneling drop getting ready to make its way into that 3rd expansion.
Oh, there's actually going to be a lot of SCVs over there unless he can get his 4th set up.
Oh man, and if Violet actually moves in at 2 different locations, Jason has shown he's sort of struggling just to keep up with all of the action that's been going on.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that he can't only turtle. I mean, I guess he technically can, but I think that in addition to just trying to be defensive and hoping they over-dedicate, is also kind of going Super Saiyan with their drops, like really just finishing buildings and key structures and killing drones, but he really only has the defensive. Oh, well, that was amazing.
Less than ideal, but here come in the Banelings, and Jason, not noticing, is going to end up taking a devastating damage right there. 17 workers going down. Ultralisk comes on in and says, you know what, I didn't actually need to kill you with those drops in the Banelings. I already had an army behind it, but I just want to do it for style points.
Yeah. Violet, I mean, he might also be hyper-aware of just the fact that, he's probably thrown his fair share of ladder games to people who do get enough Liberators. So he's actually went for that Spire. You can just get Corruptors, or you could wait for Brutals.
Well, this drop looks pretty promising. There's actually some really awkward SimCity. The Ultral's not able to get involved in the mix.
Please.
Queen, please.
Well, he does clean that up. And with the Corruptors now out, he won't have to worry so much about these drops. Even if he did start worrying a lot about the drops, one Spore Crawler in each mineral line, you'd be surprised how much of a headache that gives the Terran.
Yeah, one Spore Crawler a little bit too far back to actually interrupt or, put some pressure onto the medevacs, but the rest of the army is there, and Violet is up to 75 workers versus 36, unless somehow these 2 medevacs manage to kill off 30 workers or kill off some massive amount of tech. I think that Jason is not going to be okay with that kind of damage.
No. I mean, he can do this. He can try and push out and again bait Violet back. But if he ever gets caught by Lings or Fungals, if those were available, he actually would just probably lose the game. So he is right now, for instance, over-dedicating too much onto that creep. Has to pick up and leave.
Yeah, got to be so careful about this. But honestly, I feel like he has to do this because if he doesn't, Violet's almost maxed out. Violet's just going to move across the map and end the game. So really, these drops are the only thing that are keeping Violet from winning the game.
Yeah, I think Violet's playing a very safe game, even though he probably could have won with the Ultras. There's only like 2 4 Liberators, only 2 Ghosts. But you can tell, he wants to clear up all of the drops and be absolutely sure that when he moves forward, he actually will just... There's no chance it'll lose anything back at home.
Yeah, there is a Spire, of course, making those Corruptors, so... It's sort of interesting because I kind of feel like in some ways, maybe some Queens and just leave some Zergans and Banelings back at home, move in with the Ultralisk, deny that 4th expansion that is just so vulnerable. Look at that 4th expansion. But in the meanwhile, you see that one Ghost that's out. We have another Ghost coming out right now. There's also some Liberators that have been made. Jason is eventually, slowly but surely getting up some answers for the Ultralisk, but it's not coming fast enough.
No, if he was at like 160 supply, I'd actually be like, oh, maybe, you know, like in a perfect ideal
SimCity
world. Yeah. But still at 130 and struggling to get up any higher because he's going for those really expensive Liberators as well as Ghosts. It's just, and I don't think he's Liberator range either. So the Corruptors are especially going to be able to just like go, like they don't even have to sack themselves. Well, yeah, because even if you use the snipe on the Corruptors and use them on the Ultra, so yeah, they could probably just go in, kill the Liberators and get out.
Yeah, we're at that really difficult stage where Jason has got to make the defense happen because Violet's not going to wait any longer. He's got 4 Vipers coming out. Also got some more Baneling drops potentially getting ready to start up, but this is the moment. I almost feel like I would like to see Jason throwing down command centers or barracks or something just to add to the Sim City. These are all melee units, Zerglings, Banelings, Ultralisk. Maybe he can make something happen over there, but problem is, I don't know if he actually is going to be able to. It seems like Violet is actually backing up, so maybe he can.
Yeah, a couple of almost freebies right there. And the humongous army comes forward, and he definitely has to get back to his Liberators and Ghosts.
Ghost count is starting to climb slowly but surely. 2 more Ghosts coming at a time. 4 Liberators being made at a time. I think that Jason might actually have a relatively decent Liberator count, but Zord can counterattack. Also going to pull Jason into a different location. This is going to allow Violet to move over that Zelnaga Watchtower and potentially get ready to move into that 4th expansion.
Yeah, this is coming to a point where it's almost like, is Violet being too safe?
Yeah,
like,
I sort of feeling that.
I really feel like he is. Okay, finally, there we go. And oh, he was waiting for Vipers, that's why.
Viper's starting to pull in the Liberators. They're going to be taken out very, very quickly, but the Ultras are starting to fall. There's only 3 or 4 Ultras left over, a couple of them sitting a little bit further on the south side. Snipes going up. There's a lot of Ghosts in the mix, but now they're getting cleaved. They can't focus target the Snipes anymore.
Oh, yeah. He actually had, like, I think 3 more, which would have really helped out against the Ultras. Then, of course, he lost all of his army. A Remax would have killed Jason anyway.
Yeah, Ghosts are not the units that you can really sit on the front lines with. And as you were saying, Remax, Violet is still sitting at almost maxed out supply because he is Remaxing. The Corruptors gonna use this Caustic Spray and take out that 4th expansion. Takes out the Ultralisk.
Moral victory right there.
GG, well played. Violet taking the 2-0 sweep over his opponent, Jason.
Yep.